Time's up. Admiral.
Here it comes.
By the power of Grayskull!
I am dumping unlimited power into you. That's what
All Shooty wanted to do was be inside me. This was one of the first James Bond movies I watched, so I have a bit of a connection to it.
That's Dermot's excuse.
I don't fuck.
It was their first date, Adam. Shut up.
I will stop bringing it up. I don't give a fuck what that wannabe VTuber cunt wants to say. Okay, let me have my moment.
Dude, that's like a test of strength. That's not gay. That's like I'm gonna grip you. I'm gonna grip you harder than you grip me.
Imagine for a moment, if you will, being Adam's neighbor. You're sitting in your favorite easy chair. Maybe you got a cup of tea, and you're reading your favorite book, and out of nowhere, through the wall, you hear this: "Culturally appropriate my dick."
We named zombies after you in that game.
Yeah,
Rightfully so.
Yeah, I mean, they're these big fat bloaters that sun themselves, and they just lay there.
Oh, those are the things that come out of my rainbow's ass.
And that is just.
Oh God,
those eyes, dude. Those eyes, man. Those eyes.
Pretty eyes.
I'm not looking at those eyes right now. You know what?
I know, but she is a total package. She is a total package.
I usually think Ryan. I usually think Ryan is very cringe when he says this, but she can shit in my mouth.
Whoa, Dermy!
Why do you have to ruin this?
What the fuck?
Why
Ryan says that shit. Fuck, Ryan says this shit.
If Ryan jumped off a bridge, would you jump off a bridge?
But you just
for her, yeah.
Would. Here we are worshiping this beautiful woman, and you're talking about German shit eating. I mean, come on.
Listen. I will drag my ball sack.
No. Listen.
100 miles worth
me.
of
Shut the fuck up.
Broken glass, salt, and lemon juice just to smell her farts.
We're not on your goddamn stream. We're on Adam's stream. We're
wow,
supposed to respect the man's house. You don't take shit in his goddamn fridge.
I wonder what the championship belt would look like. Just like a big ass.
This would be my penis wrapped around their waist. Come.
They warned us about people like you.
And to be fair, racist was Hitler. All right.
Well, as you said, it's been an interesting week, and I think we have to take a moment. All right, I want everybody to join hands. If you're next to Jeremy, you don't have to touch him. It's okay. Join hands. I want you all to listen to the Lord. I want you to thank Jesus for the saving grace of delivering us from the acolyte and from Halo this week. He reached down with his glorious touch, and he moved heaven and earth to make sure we no longer have to suffer these sins. So I want you to say, praise Jesus, because the acolyte is filled with the demons that are reaching deep down inside and telling you, use that lightsaber as a penis. Realize that you can abuse your loved one and she will still love you. And realize that with Halo, you can enjoy that man ass. And when that man ass is there, when those cheeks are in your face, you can understand that his helmet is off and it's okay. So praise Jesus for leaving us these sins. Amen.
So where's Melanie back when we need her?
Oh, wait.
You're a blasphemous
Reverend Rabbi
I
Adam.
think there's a bit of blasphemy here because Jewish Jesus.
I think Reverend Rabbi Adam jumped the book that his people were starting with and went to the other book.
So that's the original thing of shipping. The problem is nowadays it is morphed into a weirdness where you have stans, these fake fans, who will take characters that have no reason to be in a relationship whatsoever, gay or straight, and they will ship them together to be in a relationship. And most of the time they want it to be gay.
A few moments later.
It's essentially when you get somebody who takes individuals like D-Day Cobra. Okay, you see Jeremy.
Oh God,
here.
don't make them
And then
kiss.
they take Ryan.
Stop it.
Shut up. So
This
they
is
take
worse than
swear to
you
God.
kissing
and they
Ryan.
start making fan
All
art of maybe Ryan bit. Wait, no, okay, this is Jeremy.
This isn't going to take away from you
Ryan
making
like
out
this.
with Ryan.
Let him finish.
Okay? Ryan like this, or the other way around, and sometimes 69, and it's just a bunch of internet freaks saying these two should be together.
Beat down that Sauron.
Oh my God! He can't control himself, Ryan.
Thank
Okay.
There we go. All better now. Man, titties are the greatest things on earth.
There we go. We can't take Jeremy anywhere. Really can't.
Oh, no, you can't.
Anywhere. Welcome to Mellow Mondays, everybody, where we just try to have a good time. I've got actual topics tonight, guys. Like real, actual discussion topics. A little random crap here and there, but real.
In that case, I'm out of here. Bye.
Well, we got time though. We're gonna wait till Samuel gets there because we need to hear from both of them because he has insight as well. But welcome everybody. We hope you've had a good start to the week. Those of you getting ready to leave from MegaCon, I hope you're going to have a safe travel. Drew included in that one. So let's say hi, Drew. Drew, you made it this week. How you doing, man?
Good. Yeah. The sickness has been going around the family the last couple of weeks. So
Yep,
it happens. But
can't help it
good,
when it's a
family.
family.
It's a good time before
Yeah,
all this busyness and out of town. So yeah, really looking forward to what's going on this weekend in Florida.
Yeah, I wish I could do it. One day I'll be living in the area, so it won't be a real journey. It'll just day trip. Let's go. But for now, I'm too many states away, and it is not feasible. But so MegaCon's gonna be a good time. And just as a note to remind everybody, as we start this, because of MegaCon, there will be no driving this weekend because Jed will be at MegaCon. He's taking that day for all the panels and all that kind of stuff. He's involved in that, so he's going to be there. So no driving. I'll be starting Saturday early with Dermy, I guess. I know I'm the one that loses in this, really. Anyway, hi, Devil. How you feeling, Devil?
I'm feeling good.
Feeling good?
Yeah, kind of a shitty start to my weekend. The snowing. We're snowing here where I am. And, so I couldn't go to the gym, which really pissed me off. And then I couldn't go shooting, which really pissed me off. So fucked my whole day.
So it's just you're by yourself, huh?
Yep. Just
Dom,
in my little
Dom
frozen.
Dom wasn't there.
Oh, shut the fuck up with that. God damn.
Hey,
Look,
come on now.
I'm okay with all the joking. It really doesn't bother me. I play along because it's for fun. But what pisses me off is when Dermy tries it because it's like I said, it's the pot calling the other kettle.
It's the Dermy gay that makes it worse.
Yeah, it's all like, really? You're gonna try to call me gay, Dermy? Really?
Thing is this, the real villain in this is Gal.
Oh hell
She's
yeah,
the real villain in this.
She's
She's watching somewhere.
She's a little troll mutant bitch.
Oh man, listen. We all get these moments where the joke hits us and it's going to stick for a while.
Yeah.
And listen, just because you and Dom are on the rocks, I'm sure you'll patch things up one day. It'll be fine. It'll be okay.
Yeah.
He's resisting. I know that you're willing to work it out, but he's resisting. Dom's having the most trouble with this, but it's either way. You remember, in all seriousness, guys, roll with the jokes. It's when you resist it that it gets worse. It's when you don't lean into it that it gets bad, and you have to always just have the fun with it.
Like I said, I've said this before. 99% of any time you think I'm pissed, I'm not pissed. It's just fun to play with. I really don't care
Yeah.
I do think I could do better than Dom though.
He's lost a lot of weight. Okay, come on.
He has, but he's just not my type. But no, I'm not mad. I'm what?
You're more of an MCU fan?
No.
He wants
Don't want simpy.
He wants a simp. He wants a simp.
No. But no, I'm not pissed. But the other day I was, because we were playing on
Marvel.
What do you call Saturday. The last game we're playing, and I'm muted because I'm cussing so much. I'm like, fucking mother, like I'm just like screaming at the top of my lungs how pissed I am because we're stuck like back in this first area. They won't even let us get out, and we're doing so bad on that game. And then Dermy decides, as I'm about to leave, to start into the jokes again, because Dermy, you can always count on Dermy to beat a joke way past its funny point. And so at that point, I'm just so lit about the game that when he started in on me that last minute, I can't even remember what I said, but it was something along the line like he wants everyone on his homo river of man ass so that he's the hippo in or some shit. Anyway, and I was pissed at that point, but otherwise, no, I don't get mad about these things. Calm down, everyone.
Why does Dermy always have to make it so disgusting? I don't get that.
Well, because he's disgusting, but
yeah.
But no, I don't get mad about stuff. I really don't. If I seem mad, it's just because it's real fun to play around with it. So yeah, I'm not upset.
I know you're not. Anyway, all right. Let's talk about a couple of. You know what? Let's go into this discussion topic. I have a discussion topic for tonight before the topics when Samuel gets here. So I noticed today, because this kind of stuff will come across my feed on the X Twitters. And hail howdy to the chat. Hail howdy, love you guys. Hit those like buttons. Everybody's links are in the description below. So we know that I'm a Star Wars guy. I'm an EU guy. I love it. I breathe it. It is still my favorite franchise to this day. I've recovered from my black pilling way back in the 20-teens. I recovered from it. Disney Star Wars cannot hurt me. I will hurt it. Now, but one of the things about, and I guess this exists in any real fandom, because this is one of the things I mentioned whenever we talk about the fall of Star Wars and how when Disney Star Wars took over, it was very easy because the Star Wars fan base was always fractured. It was never a united fan base. There was always OG people, prequel people, and EU people. And they were all always sort of warring with each other. But it was nerd warring. It didn't matter. And after Disney, it created a sort of uniting of everybody. Everybody was ready to get on the same page for the most part. Recognize that even the people who were shitting on the EU were like, you know what, the EU is as real Star Wars as you're going to get outside of the movies. So we're gonna those who are PT and OT fans were like, you know what, we're gonna lighten up on the EU guys. And in the intervening years, the normie fan base got behind it. But there's one thing I've noticed, and it's in reference to, excuse me, the expanded universe section of the fan base of this reunified push back against Disney Star Wars. There are factions within the EU fan base, and I'm not talking about the fake fan stands who will say, "Oh, I just read some Legends books, so I guess I like Legends now. So I'm with you guys. I understand how great it is, but I still like Disney Star Wars. That's awesome." Not talking about those jokers. What I'm talking about is hardcore EU people who are purity testing each other. And well, it makes me question, because you guys might have seen this today, you might have heard it. I first caught the live stream as I found it on my feed, that last year there was a convention called Legends Con for Star Wars EU fans who would go out there and they could all gather. Small convention, not a huge thing. I guess it was a mild success. I didn't personally care, so I didn't really pay that much attention to it. But apparently today, the people behind it announced Legends Con 2 was canceled with 6 weeks before it, which means you have hundreds of people who had already purchased tickets, lodging, all that kind of stuff. And not just airplane tickets, but the convention tickets, which were non-refundable. Okay?
Wow.
And
Damn.
I watched first. I saw Ryan Kinnell went live on his live channel talking with I forget the dude's name. He's another EU guy who's in the regular EU circles, talk stuff. Forget his name. I used to be subscribed to him, but not anymore. Just because he talked more board games than Star Wars at one point, and I didn't like the videos constantly popping. I was like, okay, I'm done. Not cool dude though. Cool dude, knows his shit. And they were talking about the inner workings of what went on there. And Kinnell told us that the people behind it didn't want him involved because he's controversial. Okay, I mean, we know possibly what that means, but I've always said this. Devil can back me up on it. When it comes to people who are Star Wars knowledge bases, I consider myself pretty up there. I'm here. Kinnell's here. Kinnell's like the only dude I will say definitely knows more than I do about shit. That's because he's read more. I haven't read everything. I have my favorite areas that I focus on. I don't read every little thing. Kinnell's read way more, and Kinnell has the kind of memory I have where once it's in there, it stays there. So he knows all that shit. And it boggled my mind that there were people who should be fighting for the fighting to get, let me phrase it, fighting to get as much real Star Wars out there as possible right now, with Disney Star Wars waning and losing its traction every day. You should say, okay, guys, normies who if you skipped it for before, here's the expanded universe. And I hate the term legends. It's a Disney slur. I hate it. They made it up. I try not to use it as much.
Legends is a new thing.
Yes.
When Disney bought it. Okay.
Yes, Disney created that label for the.
Yeah, I didn't know that one. I know the
Disney
expanded. Yeah.
Yeah, expanded universe is the original concept, the EU, and Disney started calling it Legends to relegate it to secondary status behind the new Disney canon. So it's a Disney made up thing, which makes it, to me, an illegitimate word. I think that's a fair thing for me to do. I try to use it as little as possible. Sometimes you have to, but I try not to. So it boggles my mind that there are EU fans out there, real Star Wars fans, who, because of, maybe I would guess the way Ryan put it in this channel, because of ideological differences, they don't want Ryan around because of his stance on certain things in pop culture, because of statements he makes that he was controversial, and they didn't use him as a promotional tool. Because let's face it, Ryan Kinnell is one of the bigger channels in the Fellowship. Especially when people go to him for Star Wars discussions, because he knows what he's talking about. If he used his channel, he could have funneled in an extra injection of people to go. That might have helped it find solvency.
Yeah.
So one thing, I'll let you go. So there's two things I'm struggling with. First one is the infighting. And it's not just people who, from ideological difference, there are others who are real Star Wars fans who are EU people, EU guys and gals, who go after Star Wars theory. Now, I'm sure that's a whole nother conversation concerning theory. I personally don't really care about theory. I kind of don't pay much attention to them because I don't generally agree with this whole approach to dealing with Disney Star Wars, looking for the good in it. I've never agreed with that, but I never doubt that Theory's a real Star Wars fan. And I respect what he's built in his business and his empire. I respect it. So the first thing I'll bring up, and I'll turn it over to you guys, is, do you guys understand how, in the face of a unifying enemy like Disney Star Wars, how there can be still infighting? Is it a nerd thing, or is it just people are effing stupid? Go ahead.
Well, the problem you have is we're always going to be at odds with people who come into the spaces not to enjoy it, but to change it. I think that just because maybe they, like you said, they found Legends and they see some stuff in it they like, and they're actually enjoying the true Star Wars, doesn't change what they are, doesn't change how they see these things. They see these things as something they're supposed to come into and fight and conquer and change. That's never going to change. So I guess infighting's unless all of them decide to move on to something else and just leave our stuff alone, we're always going to have infighting. But I don't even consider it infighting. I'm always going to consider it as invaders. They're invading a space that, if you come into a space and you go, okay, what about this do people like? And you find stuff in it you like and you end up loving it and you join it, you're always welcome in any nerdom. If the first thing you do when you come in there is say, well, that's problematic and that's wrong, and it would be better if we changed that, and you just start sitting there thinking of how everything could be changed to be better suited to your ideology, you're not welcome. Get the fuck out. We don't want you. You are ruining good stuff that has been good for way before you came around and decided to put your input into it. I like I said, I don't think that'll ever change. I really don't. Not till, like I said, this all turns around and maybe these people find something else they want to pollute. But
yeah, I think it's a matter of respect. Just kind of bouncing off what Devil's saying is, coming into something and saying, wow, look what's going on here. I'm going to make it my own. Or, you show up to somebody's house, they say, come over, we're watching, this show. You've never seen it before. And then you're talking over it or you're doing whatever. You gotta, it's a matter of having respect. So you sit there and you kind of sit there and learn, and you might learn over the course of a half an hour or 2 hours or 5 days or whatever it is, because it's important to somebody and they wanted to include you on it. And then when they ask you questions, it'd be like, okay, now we can have a discussion. And so, yeah, I first got into Star Wars theory, like whatever it was, like 7 years ago. And it's watching his, give perspectives on the different stories, the comics. I think it was like his what if this would happen?
Yeah, I saw
that really caught my eye. I think that's what sold me, or that's what I got drawn into.
You and a lot of other people, they really are attracted to his what if stuff. I personally, I don't like what if scenarios because I like it.
Well, you got all the context, you got all the back stuff.
Yeah,
I dabbled into expanded universe, but before that, it was just original trilogy, and then prequels. They have their moments that are different from the OT.
I love them for what they are.
Yeah. The duels, the duels are something the OT didn't have, and then the prequels took it to a whole new level. And there was, we always say, like, I won't dive this in the prequel talk, but there was some dialogue. So I think it was the acting with certain dialogue, like Liam Neeson. I went back and just watched or listened to some of his dialogue, and it's really good.
He carries that movie.
He does, but then it's other actors dealing with some of the writing where it doesn't work out, especially in 2 and 3. But yeah, you got to come into something and respect it. I remember in college, somebody's like, I'm you just go over and you hang out, and they were watching Lost when it was going on, and they were so into it. I didn't come in and crap all over it when they were pausing for commercials or whatever the deal was, because it's hard to keep up with that show, especially if you join in the middle of it. But yeah, it's a matter of showing respect, especially when somebody's really interested in something and they want to share that with you.
I guess. Go ahead, though. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, that's a good point. The walking into the middle of some watch party and trying to change it, the coming in when they're watching Lost and saying, yeah, you know what? Let's all watch Gilmore Girls. That's so much better. I mean, Jeremy would, but
hey,
stuff, man. Don't even say that.
I like it. I liked it. Lauren Graham was hot.
Wrong with you.
Lauren Graham was hot.
She was. I'm not saying she ain't hot, but I wouldn't want to fucking watch the show.
It was fun. It was nice and calm and relaxed.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like people, I was really big into Smallville, like since day one.
Smallville was good too, man.
Yeah, especially when like
Smallville.
it was only on certain hours, and then you were lucky to get a repeat on it like a week later before the new episode came in. And then one of my buddies started watching it when it was actually on. I could catch it online. And he's like, "Oh, this is horrible. It does a different depiction." I'm like, "Dude, you haven't seen it from the beginning.
Yeah,
it's you got to accept that it's a different thing. Yeah, they're talking about meteor rocks and not kryptonite, but it's like I don't want to spend the time to educate you on this. I want to enjoy it with you, or I'll catch you later." And that's kind of how I treat the Star Wars stuff. But yeah, Adam, you got a ton of knowledge. So does Ryan when he talks about the books and everything. So I liked that you're into that as much as you are, and so I can share in your enjoyment.
And that's two directions I want to go with this. First one is my problem that I see in the first half of the discussion is the fact that even actual real EU fans who try to put this on, they're rejecting other real fans because of differences in things outside of Star Wars. I remember a time, and Devil, I'm sure you do too, when we all congregated in our spheres of enjoyment for nerd shit, and all that mattered was the nerd shit. We left everything else at the door once upon a time, right? Back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Didn't matter who you voted for. Didn't matter what you thought on things. You left it at the door. And you just enjoyed your fandom, your passion. Now that clouds everything. And I try not to let it cloud me. I mean, I know that some of the best authors in the EU, they do not agree with me in how I see the world. But they understand Star Wars. They get it. They made some of the best stories that I have ever read in an IP. They carried on George's vision because George was guiding them. People always want to say George hated the EU. He sat at the top. He had veto power. Nothing in all these books right here. Let me full screen for a second. Everything on that shelf. Nothing was done without George's permission. Nothing. Nothing happened without his okay. No plot arc, no storyline, no characters, nothing. It all went by him. How much he paid attention to it here and there, that varied. But nothing went from pen to paper to shelf without George's approval. That's a truth. There used to be a website. It doesn't exist anymore. I used to have it bookmarked. It disappeared. That had the complete timeline of evidence of how involved Lucasfilm was in everything from tabletop to video games to the books, how detailed the quotes and everything. It was glorious, but the website disappeared. Nothing I can do about it. Maybe it's resurfaced in the way, shape, or form. I'd have to look for it, but they meant something. But just because it saddens me that I have to even put in my head, oh, this person who wrote these great stories I love doesn't like the world the way I like the world. I hate that I have to think like that, and I try my best to keep it in place. But some people can't. And they don't want somebody who could make their thing work like Ryan Kinnell involved. And that's stupid. And that's just really dumb. And then at least the other thing where I sort of mentioned, I try to keep it in place. And now I found myself questioning as I was looking at commentary, watching real Star Wars fans go at other real Star Wars fans about whether they like this or not, complaining they are going after each other. And at the same time, thinking about, as I mentioned before, a stan who will say, I love Disney Star Wars, but I started reading the EU and I like them both. And to things you both said, my first instinct is if you like Disney Star Wars, I can't trust you. I cannot trust you, both in terms of your taste and what you want for the franchise. Because 9 times out of 10, if you look at everything they post, everything they do online, it centers around Disney Star Wars. They don't reference the real thing in any way, shape, or form. So my first instinct, as I said, is to go, I don't trust you. I don't want anything to do with you. And if I see you praising Disney Star Wars, one of the real Star Wars, I'm going to troll you.
So that's the difference. So they're comparing it to a different set, just like I was comparing the prequels to the original trilogy. What if it's a generation that that's all they know is Disney Star Wars.
Uh-huh.
So that's where you gotta meet them at where they are. Be like, okay, well, let me tell you about this one over here,
But
and show you. So
that's the thing. Sometimes I can't tell the difference. I mean, if it's somebody who just wants to talk Rebels all the time, but then again, there are certain red flags, let's just say, or certain flags, to be more specific. If you see it in their bio, certain colored flags, certain phrases, pronouns, that kind of tells me who I'm dealing with here.
Right.
And that there is no, they're not in it for the love of the IP. They're in it because it feeds into their belief system. Because we can all agree here, Disney Star Wars feeds into a certain belief system, an ideology. It does not.
I've had to like take a step back, and before I just like emotionally react to somebody when they're going off on that stuff, I'd be like, okay, what do you like about it? So I ask a bunch of open-ended questions nowadays. I'm getting better at dealing with people on X and stuff like that, and I try to tell if they're a bot or not, and if they're just sort of repeating themselves, and then I just kind of move on. But if they actually have something legitimate to fight against, I kind of want to see why it is they think that way.
And yeah, I mean, you're a better man than I right now. I could say that you are a better man than I.
It's not easy.
I'm in complete attack mode at this point. The thing is, because I smell blood in the water. There's blood in the water. Disney Star Wars is wounded. Their stands are running in fear. They're getting more insane. There are certain ones that are obviously dipshits and losers. And especially if you see the certain flags, you see the pronouns, you look in their little thing, all they talk about is Disney Star Wars. And it's one thing, and listen, I'm going to get in the Wayback Machine. I'm going to date myself here again, as I always do. Boomer man, old man. In the 2000s, early 2000s, when Clone Wars came out, when TCW came out, and listen, I thought that was the worst it was ever going to get of late.
Which one?
Like George Lucas, the Dave Filoni crap, Filoni crap, not the Gennady Tartakovsky work of art. That's a work of art. I'm talking Dave Filoni garbage.
Okay,
that's 90% of it is dog shit to me. There's like 2 or 3 things in it I accept that work, because they actually worked it into the EU.
Yeah, I caught up on those during COVID, and I watched it in the order the internet said to watch it in. It's different from the original release.
I've given it 2, maybe 3 full watch throughs in my time.
Wow.
And it never. I watched the original run, then I sort of watched it again, and then when I crawled out of my black pill in 2018. And I started to realize Disney Star Wars can't hurt me, especially because the world suddenly was on my side of things, which made it a lot easier. I watched everything. I went, and I did it in chronological order because as someone who's been watching it since the OT came out in the theaters, I don't need to watch it OT then PT. I can go from PT all the way to the thing. So I was watching chronological order, and I watched the PT. I watched after I hit the end of Attack of the Clones. I watched part of Gennady Tartakovsky's. Then I stopped at a certain point, and I watched up until that point all of TCW, all of it up until, because then Disney hadn't made the last few episodes yet, which led into Bad Batch. They hadn't done that yet, so I watched it all, and I gave it the God's honest try. It's like, okay, I'm gonna really watch it. I'm in the mood. I'm loving enjoying Star Wars again, and I just don't like it. The only
reason I liked it is because I was coming from a military perspective, and so I liked watching the battles and the
that's part of the good stuff.
Tactics, yeah,
see, that's part of the good stuff.
I like those parts.
That works. Some of the character work works as well. You get more of Anakin, which is good. That's part of the positives. You get more Anakin. Ahsoka, I grudgingly accept her. Because if you follow actual Star Wars, she dies during the purges. She doesn't live. George Lucas says Ahsoka died during the purges. We don't know how. We don't need to know how. She's dead. And that's fine. Because she had a decent arc by the end of it. The best thing, though, is the Mortis arc. The Mortis Blade.
Yeah. Because I need to go back and watch that again.
And you know why
that was interesting.
Because George worked on that directly. That's why it was good.
I didn't know that. Yeah, I remember watching that episode and be like, okay, this is intriguing because it's a world building. It adds to, what was going on with the original trilogy, the prequels. And it's like, okay, I can still keep what I know about the movies
Yeah.
and add this this new lore into it.
Honestly, all you really need is Mortis Blade, and here's why. I'm going to go full screen again. I'm going to get up, and I'm going to show you because of Mortis Blade plays a role in all of this. The events of the Mortis arc in the Fate of the Jedi arc, massive. They worked it in there, and it was excellent. And it was because, as I said, George directly worked on the Mortis Blade arc. That's why it worked. And the rest of it, parts are good. Some of the clone stuff is good because it's interesting. It's showing us the clone's perspective on stuff. There are bits or pieces. It works out for me, honestly, about 20% of it. That makes about 20% of it good for me. The rest,
I can do that.
I get right.
Yeah,
I don't need.
It's hit or miss, on those episodes.
Like the extra villains, Cad Bane, all that crap, other stuff. It's the
Boba Fett was it Boba Fett as a kid? Yeah,
it was Boba Fett going after Mace Windu.
Yeah, that was weird.
All right, hold on a second. Once again, Ariel's not banned. I bet she's not banned. She could come in here anytime she wants. She was here last week. She knows this.
Free Ariel.
She knows this. She's not.
Hashtag free Ariel.
Not banned.
Screw that! I'd ban her. Just be like, you called the thunder. Now reap it.
But
let her out. I am free Ariel. I don't know who this is.
She's free to do whatever she wants. She's free to give us money to watch horrible shit. Okay, that's what she's free to do.
I'm not watching Two Girls, One Cup again with you.
Hey.
That's what we're
what you
about?
and Dom do on your own time is your business. I don't need to know. All right. Anyway, back on topic. So getting back to that. So I watched everything and I came through it and I said, okay, I really can say I do not like the Clone Wars. And then I finished and I watched it through. And then I started rereading the books and I was doing video. That's about when I was starting the channels a little bit before. And I started the EU book club, which I am. Hot note. I know I've been saying for 2 years we get back to book club and finishing up with Champions of the Force, which I did finish reading it again a couple months ago, and I sat down to record it, and other shit happened, and I got worn out. So, but as a side note, the week that I'm gone in the first week of April, you guys every day, I'm going to start recording them soon. You guys will get an EU book club video every day that week, in lieu of my content. Even though Wheel of Time's going on, I'm not going to be home, so I can't do the reviews. So you will that'll be the substitute content while I'm gone. You guys will get something every day. Positive stuff. It'll be great.
There you go.
Anyway.
Yeah, I'm working on positive stuff. Me and Horny Elf and Tiny But Fierce. We're doing we do the good, the bad, and the nerdy. So we kind of do some tough stuff and then add some positive things in. We're working on a channel right now.
Oh, look who it is.
Okay. If you're banned, how are you here? How are you here? If you're banned. Hello, Ariel.
So about Rebels, though,
yeah,
like, I didn't like when it came out. Like I knew about the Disney acquisition and everything like that, and then they came out with the show, and I'm like, this doesn't look good. Like even before watching it, I'm like, nope, I'm just gonna pass. The lightsabers where it looks skinny and it just looked like a kid show, which kid shows can be okay. A lot of the DC animated stuff I'm really into. And then I think I tried it. It came on Netflix, I think, during COVID. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to watch it and check it out. And I could not get through those episodes. I was on my phone. I was doing other things. The only thing that grabbed my attention was the Vader stuff and Obi-Wan and some Maul things. Some Maul stuff was goofy.
The Maul stuff. Listen, I am forever on the record. They should not have brought back Maul.
No,
that was a mistake. Yes, the fight between Maul Savage and Palpatine is epic as hell, but Maul should not have been brought back.
There were better YouTube videos on those fights than the actual show.
Yep. And to your point, though, Rebels, this is, as you said, that is after Disney buys it. So that is pure Dave Filoni. There is no George Lucas involved at all at that point. It's all Dave Filoni. And that is where Dave Filoni he already started bending the rules when George wasn't looking during Clone Wars. But in Rebels, he really bends the lore rules. He butchers Thrawn. He butchers the Order 66. He butchers everything, and then he makes the world in between worlds. And he shows us that he has no balls, that he can't kill Ahsoka. He can't do it because he's got no.
Rogue One was after Disney bought it, Ariel.
Yes. Rogue One. That's what. And this is where I am Sith when it comes to Disney Star Wars versus real Star Wars. Everything is in absolutes, one or the other. You cannot cherry pick, cannot a la carte things out of Disney Star Wars, because everything Disney Star Wars directly contradicts actual Star Wars lore. Specifically, you want us to talk about Rogue One, it contradicts the game Dark Forces, Kyle Katarn, and his adventure when the prologue in that is him stealing the Death Star plans. So that's a real Star Wars character, a guy who is an ex-stormtrooper who goes through the shit and becomes a Jedi Knight and a Jedi Master on Luke's initial Jedi Council when he reforms the Jedi Order. I mean, a real badass.
I thought Rogue One was fine. Like I didn't have it on the level of original trilogy or prequels. It was just it was a footnote. It was fine to watch on Netflix when I was paying for Netflix when it was like $7 a month.
Mm-hmm.
I fell asleep, I think twice trying to watch it.
Let me ask you this. What is the only thing that anybody ever talks about or cares about? The last 15 minutes when Vader
I like the trailer. The trailer was amazing. That got me to watch it. And then a lot of the trailer wasn't in the movie.
Yeah. And when Vader's tearing shit up, that's what people like. Vader tearing shit up. But unfortunately, that then contradicts his behavior in A New Hope. How come he now moves so slow? Where's all the use of the Force doing shit? It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
Well, I've always felt that way about it. When you were talking about it earlier, that there are these Star Wars fans that are also fans of Legends. I don't see how you can be. It's almost like, water and oil. They just don't mix.
When you mean fans who mean when Legends equals EU, that's the real thing. I think
that's what I'm saying.
You mean Disney Star Wars. People like EU who claim to like EU but say Disney Star Wars is okay. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, being both fans of both.
Yeah.
Because they contradict all the time. At least, like I said, I haven't really read any of the EU because I don't really read that much. But from what I've heard from you, from Ryan, from other sources, it's completely different. So I seen that from other perspectives, from other shows and stuff. I don't see how you can be a fan when two things contradict each other so much, when they conflict so much, when you can't get okay, in this one this happens, but in this one this happens. Oh, in this they can do this, but in this that's not something they can do. That I don't get it. To me, stories should have some sort of finality to them, some sort of stability. And when you like both like that, I don't get how you can when everything's up in the air.
I knew one person. I knew one person who I forgave for it. I used to play SWOTOR with her. We're still friends. We just don't hang out and work, so we're not playing games together right now. And she would watch Disney Star Wars, and I would say, "How can you do it?" She would say, "It's Star Wars." I said, "But it isn't." She says, "But it still sort of is." And I would say, "But you know it's not real Star Wars, right?" She would say, "Yes." So she would watch it and enjoy the, I guess, spectacle of it. But she would then say to me, "I know it's not real Star Wars." So I forgave her. She's also my friend, so I could forgive her for that. But that's about as much leeway as I give. If you watch Disney Star Wars and then say to me, "I know it's not real Star Wars, but I'm going to watch it for what it is," then I'll have a conversation with you. But if you are a stan who will spend literally 99% of their time on social media doing nothing but praising Rey Skywalker.
See, that's the difference. Yeah. It's like, how important is the whole world to you? Because like Fast and Furious, I was way into the first one. And pitter patter, the different ones and stuff like that. But the last couple, it's not for me anymore. If I really want to, I'll go and I'll watch it. I'll throw it in or something like that. But it's not the same. I know it's not the same. But yeah, if you get those people that say you got to stick with it no matter what, and that's just that personality type, you got to accept that. Okay, that's who they are. it's like the true believers. Are they just that's what they believe in no matter what, and it could just get bad and bad and bad, and they'll just accept it? Or are they eventually going to get to the point where they stand their ground and say, okay, something's really wrong here and it's getting worse?
Well,
so it's like, at what point do you want to get off the ride?
And it's funny how those who are the stands, the Disney Star Wars stands, they hate it when people like me bring up the EU, because they try to say it wasn't real, it's been thrown aside, it doesn't count. And they always used to say, these are the same people who would for years say the EU was always illegitimate because it was just in the books and it didn't count. But suddenly they want to say all the Disney Star Wars books count just because now Disney owns it. It's like an illogical connection of...
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me, because like then you're relating it to business decisions, and businesses have committees and, you know, the mergers and acquisitions and different things like that. And then it's not about the world building, the stories. It's about what a company is making their decisions, and they have to go by profits and quarterly reports and things like that. And that doesn't add to creativity in a story. And then we're trying to have our arguments based on fantasy stories, sci-fi, fantasy, you know, these made up things that we want to escape into, and then we can have our discussions back and forth, you know, all these different things. But then when we're relating to, like, oh no, those don't count because they weren't released in a theater or on streaming or something like that.
Yeah,
it's merging those two worlds, and then you leave that escapism, and that's not a good place to be, because then you're just fighting.
To me, you're denying something that exists. Because right now, even though it was put through Del Rey Books, if you go down the spine here, Lucas Books. To me, that's all the legitimacy I need when I go to the EU. But something Devil said before, and to the same point that you just made, in terms of legitimacy and this and that, and personality, and going in there and who's involved in making this, it matters who's making this stuff. Like right now, you look at the basically villains row of people making Disney Star Wars content in books and comics. These are horrible writers. I've read excerpts of these books. These people cannot write. They're not good at what they do. They cannot draw the art. They cannot do anything. All they do is F it up. So they're tasked with making their version of the expanded universe, which was the High Republic, which ends this summer. Lasted 4 years. The EU, over 2 decades. Would have kept going if Kathleen Kennedy hadn't thrown in the garbage. But it matters.
And then she didn't throw it in the garbage. She picked out things that they wanted to use and manipulate into a new way. And that's like the big thing too. It's like, okay, make your decision. Saying everything like that is, you're not going to touch it. You're going to let it live in its own world that, Adam, you could, you know, have, because you bought the things, you actually purchased it, you consumed it, and you have it forever. Just like I talk about physical media. But no, they didn't do that. They said, we're gonna take Thrawn and now do some different things in Rebels, and then Ahsoka, and that changes your perspective on things that you bought, the things that you kind of, you know, the world that was created. So it merges those two, and that's not good for anybody.
And for some people, it merges them to a point where they can't look at it anymore. There are people who have loved Star Wars, and to them, Disney Star Wars has poisoned the well too deeply, and they can't even look at the movies anymore. Whereas I just watched Return of the Jedi yesterday. Literally, I watched it yesterday. Smile on my face at the end, sitting all the way through to the end of the credits, because you have to. You have to do it. And I can separate them. I know what real Star Wars is. Just because I see Jake Skywalker on the screen, just because I see Mark Hamill today, I can still watch the original trilogy. I don't see Mark Hamill. I don't see Jake Skywalker. I see Luke Skywalker. That's who I see. And it's not ruined for people. For some people, it's ruined. They see new Thrawn. Yeah, go ahead.
I see Mark Hamill before he got the mental illness, you know, before he was taken by his degradation.
Yeah. And to go back
to the Ewoks, I have a tough.
I love Ewoks. I love Ewoks. I always have. Dude, all right.
I loved Ewoks before I knew what they were, which is girl
think about
candy.
it like this. Think about it like this. And I know you've probably heard the song, so I'm going to bring it up. Think about it like this. At the end of Return of the Jedi, when they have those, when they're playing the helmets as drums. What do you think happened to those bodies, dude?
They ate them.
What do you think happened? They were going to eat Han and Luke. They were going to eat. They were going to be Sunday brunch. Those little bastards are more. I bet they have like monkey strength, dude.
I would like to see that though. See, that's the thing, and I'm not trying to change Return of the Jedi, but at the time, it's just like, okay, this is goofy because I like the battles, the mysticism, everything like that, and it was fine, but it's just combined with like the Emperor scenes, which were just like phenomenal. It's like two different movies.
It's a
and that's my
legitimate
thing. Yeah, if there was more lore building, I guess
you're not alone in that.
Yeah,
there are a lot of people who have a whole problem with the whole Endor part of the movie. I don't. I've always loved it. I'm okay with it. Also because they also usually know that it was supposed to be Kashyyyk, not Endor. It was supposed to be Wookiees. And
see, that would
have made sense.
And somebody said to George, let's try and make it a little more appealing for kids and merch with Ewoks. So let's
Did that
do
work?
that.
Do you think?
It did. It did. It spawned the Ewok cartoon, which was very successful.
2 movies.
For kids. And the 2 Ewok television movies, which were good at the time, which you can ignore now because they don't make any sense at all.
Yeah, I think I watched those as a kid and completely forgot about
kids
them.
love Ewoks. I mean,
and
And
now when you realize that those Ewoks were probably seen there munching on
I would like to see that.
Stormtrooper butt cheeks.
Here's the thing. I've watched it. I've never played it, but I've watched it played on Star Wars Battlefront. There's a mode called Ewok Hunt. And your stormtroopers being hunted by Ewoks in the dark.
Yep, I would like that.
They are everywhere. Those old bastards will eat your ass. They will Alex Jones eat your ass. So they're deadlier than you think. Point is, I loved it, but it counts who makes it. Going back to what I was trying to get into, good tangent. I love it. In the EU really truly started because of Timothy Zahn, and I've shown this before. I'm going to show it again because it's relevant to what we're talking about here. It started Timothy Zahn, and he made it work. And what I have here is the 20th anniversary edition of Heir to the Empire. I got this when I was rebuilding my collection because, Drew, you don't know this. The first quarter of my original collection got left in a Quonset hut in Florida for decades. And then when my mom divorced my stepdad, it was there and I could never get it back. So I lost all my first editions.
Oh, no.
In there. Now, I have reacquired first editions, but when I was going for reacquiring Heir to the Empire, I had a choice between this one, which was only $18, or a first edition hard copy, which I never had actually. I only had a paperback. So I only had paperback Heir to the Empire because I was a year late to finding out it existed. That was like $60. I was like,
let me ask you something about physical media.
Yeah.
Like anytime, like if you could go back and have any physical media, what would it be? What would be that like?
I would not have sold all my Super Nintendo stuff.
So which game?
All of them.
Pick one. And one can magically appear in front of you right
Chrono
now.
Trigger.
One?
For all the time I put into it. Chrono Trigger. Because I was nearly level 99 at that point. And that's a lot of playtime. All the other ones can be replicated. That up until recently when I got the Steam version, which is based on the DS one that came out about 15 years ago, that is the one I would get back. Because everything else was just easily replicated or has better versions now. Like Final Fantasy III, there's a better Final Fantasy VI version out there. More updated other stuff like that. But yeah, I would not have gotten rid of my Super Nintendo and my Chrono Trigger. Nice. That's an easy one. But
I had a special edition Fight Club DVD. It looked like a paper soap type deal. It was a package and everything. And I have no idea what happened to it when I joined the army and moved around. It disappeared. Maybe somebody yanked it from me. But if I could have that back.
That's sort of like what happened here. I had moved so many times and left stuff in Florida and left stuff in other places. And I could not keep carrying my childhood with me anymore. And so, I lost those. That was a box of books I lost in Florida. I also had to lose my entire D&D book collection when I left one apartment complex in Charlottesville, Virginia. I lost all my D&D stuff. We're talking Dragonlance, Forgotten Realms, all of it. I had to part of my Sword of Truth books. Actually, I think those were in the Quonset too. I think those were in the content of Florida too. Point is, I lost that stuff. So when I was replacing it, though, is either spend $18 on this 20th anniversary edition or spend $60 on a hardcover Heir to the Empire. And I was like, no, I'm going to go with this one. Even though it's not the first edition, it's a 20th anniversary edition and it's cool, but it comes with a bonus. When you go into it right here, it's got Timothy Zahn's footnotes in it. He put in footnotes, him and his editors, about how they were dealing with writing it. And it's a very interesting read to read it alongside it. And I'm going to reread this now. I've done it before. This is the opening of the book, chapter 1. And as he writes it, he writes this on the side. Each of the 3 classic Star Wars movies includes a Star Destroyer in its opening scene. All of my Rebellion era books do the same. That's respect, man. That's saying, I understand how a Star Wars story is supposed to begin, and I'm writing a trilogy, and I want you to feel like these trilogies are movies when you read them. So I'm going to open each of these books as George did with a movie. It matters who's involved with stuff. Not to mention also Timothy Zahn, good writer. Yes, he sold out for Disney Star Wars, but I'm not going to begrudge the man making a living. I'm not. You made Thrawn. He is your character. They wanted to use him, and you wrote a bunch of books about him and made some bank. Not going to begrudge him. Not going to call him a traitor. He had to make his money. I don't agree the fact that he ruined his own character, but it is what it is. I still got the real deal, which is frankly more interesting because never once in the Thrawn trilogy are you ever in Thrawn's head. You're always looking at him from somebody else's perspective. And once you get in his head, kind of ruins the mystique, if you ask me. Anyway,
would that be good to listen to on audiobook?
The Thrawn trilogy. I've heard people say it's good on the audiobook. You got to get the right ones, though. There are ones to get. I couldn't tell you which they are, but there are good ones to get and bad ones to get. So I say go for it.
Yeah, I'm not a big reader unless I'm way into something.
All of this stuff is on audiobook. The entire EU, it's all on audiobook. It's all available, and there are some really good ones. I would maybe. I mean, you're going to see Kinnell in MegaCon. Maybe ask him. He's into audiobooks for Star Wars, so he can probably give you direction on the type of whoever's reading it, who's involved with it, to know who's going to go. So I would say ask Kinnell because he'll have a good answer for you which I cannot provide.
Like today, I get these infusions where I'm sitting in a chair for 6 hours a day, 2 days in a row, every 2 weeks, and I got like nothing to do. So it's like I can't really read in that kind of situation, but I could listen to something like that.
If you want to get into the EU, my recommendation is always this. Let me bring this up too, because it'll add to it. My recommendation is if you're going to start, you start with the Thrawn trilogy, because it feels like you're diving right back in to George's universe. Everything that's glorious. It just feels right. But after that, I always recommend that then you could then choose what era you want to jump to. You don't have to stay with the New Republic era, which is what the Thrawn trilogy starts off. But then there's always this. Here's your guide right here, the EU timeline. That's all of it right there, not including comics. This is the novel timeline where you've got all the way to the beginning, Dawn of the Jedi, which James Crybaby Mangold will be trying to butcher for his own version. And then you've got all the Old Republic stuff tied in with KOTOR 1 and KOTOR 2.
Yeah, I've only heard of Old Republic from I had friends that played the game, and then just YouTube Star Wars Theory and the other guys.
So
and it's interesting, the Revan.
Oh, there's so much there. I mean, some people. I personally only read a little bit of Old Republic stuff in relation to when they were starting Star Wars Old Republic MMO. There were a couple lead-in books, and I read those. But some people love the Old Republic stuff. They love the Clone Wars stuff, like the actual real stuff that was interesting, that isn't childish from Dave Filoni. And then there's the stuff that goes on right before A New Hope and during New Hope and so that. But I say always go here and start with the Thrawn trilogy right here. Always start with that, because that'll get you the mood. Because then it will spark your hunger. It'll put that fire in your belly, and you're gonna want it. And then go back. If you want to go back in time, then choose a point and read from there. But if you're going to stay, if you don't want to read the past, let's say
I do want to read the past. Yeah.
Then
I want to understand the Sith a lot more.
Well then I say definitely start with the Throne trilogy, and then I would say go all the way back. Right here, I guess there's some Sith stuff here. And
I probably start at the beginning. I'm a completionist.
Then go for it. Then just go to the beginning.
Well
then just go all the way through. I can DM this to you if you want.
Oh yeah,
I've DM'd this to lots of people who ask me where do I start, and this is your roadmap because this is an
If I really try, I could probably do this in the year in 2025. I could actually go from start to prequel time.
Yeah, you're gonna get a lot. It's a lot of good stuff here. You're probably really gonna like the Darth Bane trilogy. I've never read that because again, wasn't my interest, but I know what goes on in it.
I just want to understand what created the rule of two and all that stuff that they talked about in the prequels.
Basically, in the short version, what happened is during the Old Republic era, during the SWTOR game KOTOR, there was just Sith. There was an emperor. There was Vitiate, the Emperor Vitiate, who had multiple reincarnations. First, he was Tenebrae, and he kept existing for thousands of years because he mastered essence transfer before Palpatine did, and he just kept ruling from afar. But he let his minions, he let the other Dark Lords fight with each other constantly because that was the thing. Power meant you stood atop, and they just kept killing each other off. And what happened was after the Sith Empire, we're talking the real Sith Empire, capital on Droman, Kos, all that stuff. When it was finally beaten, and the Jedi and the Republic were pushing them back, Darth Bane realized the only way we're going to survive is if we stop killing each other. Problem is, the Sith didn't want to stop killing each other because they're always hungry for more power. So he and his apprentice basically set a trap. They murder everybody and go into hiding and start their own line of master and apprentice, the rule of two, knowing that an apprentice will always kill the master, but that's okay because that means they've learned all that and they're even more powerful, and they just keep building the power, learning more. And I always call it the rule of 2.5 because there's the master and apprentice, but the apprentice always has a secret apprentice because the apprentice is never going to make the move until they already have an apprentice. So
because you can't really just go right to being the master, and now you gotta find somebody. And then with all the Saz Ventress and Maul and
that's what I mean. Now Palpatine didn't believe in the rule of two because he had multiple apprentices.
Right, Dooku.
Dooku. He had Dooku and Maul were his apprentices at the same time. They were basically, or almost. I think I don't know exactly when Dooku fell because I'd have to go research.
And when did Maul know about Dooku, or Dooku know about Maul? At what point?
I don't think.
I have all these questions.
They didn't know about either one. Neither of them.
Well,
knew.
In Attack of the Clones, Dooku is talking to Obi-Wan.
Well, Dooku's already turned for some time. He's already called Darth Tyrannus. Although Dooku wasn't a real Sith because he never had Sith eyes. His eyes never went Sith yellow. That's the point. As opposed to when Anakin turns at the end of Revenge of the Sith,
what was Dooku then in?
I would,
even though he was a beach,
even though he was
a spy.
I mean, Palpatine did dub him a Sith Lord, gave him the title Darth Tyrannus. He was a Sith Lord, but I wouldn't call him a real Sith.
Well, he was doing the separatist stuff,
Dark
right?
Jedi. Well, he was.
So he had a face. He had the front face, and then behind the scenes, he was doing some Sith stuff, right?
Well, he was doing Palpatine's bidding, is what he does. I mean, Palpatine was basically puppeteering both sides of the war, and he was always going to sacrifice the separatist movement, the CIS, for the Republic because the Republic could be turned into the Empire. The separatists could not be turned into the Empire. He needed the infrastructure of the Republic.
Yeah, they were just means to end.
Yeah, to basically weaken the Jedi is what it was.
And then did Dooku know about Anakin? What Palpatine was doing with Anakin?
No, I don't think he knew about Palpatine's desire for Anakin. I don't think he knew about that at all. I don't think he did because it's never apparent.
Yeah, because remember in the third one, episode 3, he like he's about to get taken out, and then he turns him, do it, and it's like, what? Are you fucking me? Like,
yeah, and so Palpatine never really believed in the rule of 2. He always believed, because at that point, up until then, the rule of 2 had been always the master's going to accept when he gets killed, because that means the apprentice is going to be more powerful. Palpatine believed he was going to be the most powerful Sith of all time forever, because he had mastered
a rule of 1.
he had mastered essence transfer that Tenebrae had mastered thousands of years ago, which means at that point he's already transferring his body to clones at that point, because the dark side power within him is eating him up inside. We learn about that in the Dark Empire comics. That's where that gets introduced, and that's a very controversial thing. I like it. I'm okay with it, but a lot of people don't like it. That essentially the Emperor that dies on Death Star 2, that was likely a clone body with his soul in it already. He had already been transferring it for years, as we learn as we read into the EU. So you learn all that shit reading this. They said you all the knowledge is there, and I think you'll have
that. I want to start from the beginning.
Yeah,
and just take it because I have a memory too where once I have it locked in the vault, I can tap into it all the time and I can connect the dots.
Yeah,
but
so
I really have to understand something. That's what I'm doing with Game of Thrones right now,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm just watching it a second time after watching House of the Dragon, and I'm like, okay, these dots are starting to connect.
Mm-hmm. So if you're going to read it all, you will know more than I will at one point. So if you're going to go through it all, because I have holes, and I
challenge accepted.
Because I only care about the main timeline after Truce at Baccarat. That's all I care about. I mean, X-Wings are good books, but I'm just not interested. I care about everything from essentially here, Truce at Baccarat, and then the main story on the Courts of Princess Leia, which is one of my favorite books of all time. And then everything here. That's what I care about, because it moves the story forward. And it goes great. And it's a great run. So I will DM this to you.
Yeah. And then going back to our question.
Careful.
What?
Be careful, Drew. Whenever he DMs something to you, he always sends a penis pic first.
Oh, stop it. Do I look like
First one's a dick pic. Second one's what you're actually looking for.
You gotta
from experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a question before Disney takeover.
I always forwarded them to Dermy.
I got into, and which goes different from probably what you know, the Force Unleashed games. Like I jumped into that and got really into it, and I like the concept.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's probably different from the books and everything.
There is a Force Unleashed book on there.
Okay.
There is a novelization of the first game. Second game, I don't know. Maybe it is on there. Hang on, let me bring it back up.
Yeah, the second one was goofy. I like the first one a lot.
I mean, I actually didn't play those games because I was more interested in the MMO at that time, or leading into it and other stuff, or strategy games. I wasn't into the just smashing shit. But
I like.
Yeah, well, I never played it, so I
play as both. You should check it out.
I've been told that. Where is it? Here we go.
I felt it was cool, just world building, and I accepted that it's a game. It's different. It's just like playing Arkham. It's different from the show and everything like that. But I could see how that would interfere with what you already know.
Yeah. Okay, there is novelizations of both of them, Force Unleashed and Force Unleashed 2, right before A New Hope. So
okay,
there is novelizations.
And you start off as Darth Vader, just going and hunting down Jedis, which is awesome.
See,
it doesn't last very long, because then you find the kid that would become
Starkiller.
Starkiller, yeah. Which was the original name for Luke.
Luke, yep. Hi, Samuel.
Hi.
Hey,
Sorry I'm late.
It's all right.
It's been that kind of night where there's fresh powder over black ice and no exposed skin is advised. So yeah, it's been fun.
Drink some
Nice.
cocoa.
I just got back from a ski weekend, sit down ski adaptive sports weekend.
Oh, nice. I'm just talking about walking home from work, dude.
Oh.
Yeah, listen, this conversation went far longer than I thought it would, because I
actually have some things to contribute.
Oh, go for it.
Because I have been listening. I've just been busy. So
weigh in.
Number one, Drew, if you're gonna start with like researching Sith, you need to go at least as far back as the Great Sith Civil War and Freedom and Nad. At least that far back.
Comics. Those are comics. They're comics.
You'd want to,
right?
Yeah. But then you'd want to jump forward to Exar Kun and Ulic Keldroma and the Empress Teden
the hyperspace war. The hyperspace war. Yep.
Yeah. Because all of that stuff sets up a lot of stuff that comes later, including after Return of the Jedi, when Luke builds the new Jedi Academy on Yavin 4. That was an outpost of the Sith. That's where those temples came from. And the ghost of, or the spirit, the Force ghost or whatever of Freedom Nad from like 4,000.
No. It's Exar Kun. It's Exar Kun.
No, he meets Exar Kun, but Exar Kun is no, isn't that where Exar Kun meets the ghost of Freedom Nad then?
No, Exar Kun sacrificed the entire Masasai people to turn himself into a force entity.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
And he goes and he's trying to corrupt Luke's new trainees.
Right.
During this.
The other thing is, as far as like Count Dooku's not having the yellow eyes yet, we know for a fact that exposure to the dark side affects people differently and at different rates, and depending on how much that they allow in. The Emperor is totally consumed by it, which is why his clones only last about 4 years before the dark side of the Force just burns them out and he has to get a new one. Whereas Dooku's relatively new to this, right? He's still evil. He's still
essentially a dark Jedi,
Dark Lord. Yeah, he's still a Dark Lord of the Sith, but he hasn't progressed to the point where it starts to alter him physically yet. Whereas we see it happen to Anakin much quicker, because when Anakin gives in, he gives in whole hog.
And also, Palpatine had been manipulating him for years, secretly teaching him Sith ideology, so that he
but
easily adapted
even
to it.
If you go back to Exar Kun, right, when he becomes that era's Dark Lord of the Sith, he doesn't start showing those physical changes immediately either. That's why he gets away with like being as sneaky as he is, pretending to be a Jedi archaeologist when he's in fact researching the ancient Sith.
Very sneaky.
Yeah.
So if I'm focused on timeline, so from start to prequel time, would it make sense to go just books or comic books or a combination of the both?
You're going to need a combination, because the one I'm going to send you, that's the novels only. That does not include comics. And there's basically if you find the 90s run of Tales from the Jedi, that
Tales of the Jedi is where it's all at. Yeah,
that's going to give you everything you need for all that stuff.
Yeah, I would definitely read Tales of the Jedi, read Rogue Squadron if you want to like expand a little bit more, because there's some really good stories there too. And that sort of thing. Everything else is kind of ancillary. Tales of the Jedi really talks about all the stuff that came before the movies.
Yeah, my focus is going to be timeline. So yeah, whatever content I could get from, start to prequel time.
I'm sure there's. Go ahead, though.
I was saying I just read Star Wars Cliff Notes and got it all. So
you could do that too if you really wanted to.
Motherfucker.
I didn't have time.
So I'm sure there's someone out there who's probably got a combined timeline of both what I showed you and what I'm going to send you and the comics.
I'll check that out.
Where to go into the comics, where to fit it in. Because the whole thing about the Sith is that the Sith species, Jedi crash landed on their planet and introduced them to the Force, and then they got bad because the Sith originally were just a species. These red-skinned bastards with tendrils on their chins.
Back when lights. Back before lightsabers were lightsabers. They're actually, I remember they were these. He had to have a belt. They were connected to a belt and a battery on your freaking belt, and you had the. Back before they became military.
The Sith themselves were an advanced civilization at one point, but eventually, before they essentially were rendered extinct by the Sith, the endless Sith civil wars, there were remnants of them, or like clonable pieces or whatever. The Masasi are essentially devolved Sith.
Yeah, I mean, if you go, in SWTOR, which is 3,500 years after the events of KOTOR, the Sith, the pureblood Sith still exist, because you can play as pureblood Sith in that game. It's after that, as the Jedi and the Republic continually win over and over again in the war against the Sith Empire, that's when they start getting wiped out.
And the I think the original Dark Lords were like you said, they were those fallen Jedi who essentially like assumed command over the civilization, but they weren't Sith themselves.
Yeah,
I think there have been one or two Dark Lords who were Sith, but that came later.
Later, and eventually Sith goes beyond being a race to an ideology and a belief system, and its own version of the dark side, because you could be a dark Jedi and not be a Sith. That's a common mistake. A lot of people will say that just because somebody's a dark Jedi using the dark side, oh, he's a Sith. No. There's dark Jedi, and then there's Sith dark Jedi who use specific talents. They know how to manipulate the Force. There's Sith alchemy, where they created horrible monsters like I can never pronounce it.
Demon things on the
I always call them T-Tac, Terran Shack. I can never pronounce it right. I always just call them T-Tacs. They create all kinds of horrors that they released onto Droman Kos, onto what's the other one?
Jeremy.
Well, Dermy is a Sith alchemic horror.
That's what I'm saying.
Give us a Z. I just forgot the name. God, it's gonna come to me like 2 hours later when we're done. And I'm losing nerd points here. Point is, there's Sith, there's Dark Jedi. There's two separate things.
And there's dark side users who are neither of those things, like the Night Witches, for example.
Yes. But there is no such thing as a Great Jedi. Doesn't exist.
There are
that all the
Jedi
time.
that walk. There are Force users who use lightsabers who walk that line and use both sides of the Force. But I think you're right. They're not Jedi because they're not part of the Jedi Order.
There's no such thing as Great Jedi. That is a misconception created by people who wanted to be clever and ended up being retarded. And there's no such thing as great. Like Ahsoka's not a Great Jedi. Qui-Gon Jinn was not a great Jedi.
Great Jedi. Yeah.
Bullshit.
No, he just was an imperfect one.
Yes.
Anyway,
all right.
Yeah. There was one more thing. You were talking about the end of Return of the Jedi and the Ewoks, right? I caught that whole conversation, and Adam is almost totally correct on what with the stormtrooper helmets and the eating of the stormtroopers by the Ewoks. But here's the thing: it's darker than that, right? And I put some thought into this. It is much darker than that, right? What are we at the end of that movie? We're at a celebration to celebrate victory.
What's on that buffet,
Empire,
dude?
right?
What's on that buffet?
Our heroes are the honored guests. Our heroes are also very aware that these little bastards eat their kind, right? Because they were intending to do it earlier in the movie. We know this, right? So what happens when little fuzzy dudes who you know good and well would just as soon eat you offer you a plate of steaming meat? Are you going to turn that shit down? No, you're not. You're going to eat that shit because it's fucking polite and you don't want to be next. Our heroes are cannibals.
Are you saying
I'm not? No.
that Luke Skywalker ate fucking stormtrooper ass?
I'm saying Luke did it. I'm saying Leia did it. I'm saying that Han did it. I'm definitely saying Chewie did it because I don't think he cares that much.
Chewie's not a cannibal. Wookiees will eat anything. They're carnivores.
Right. Chewie wouldn't be a cannibal in this case, but the other three, absolutely.
Luke and Han Leia did not eat people. All right. I'm happy drawing this to a close. I would ask another question, but we're over an hour in, and I want to get to our actual topics. I got real topics that I want to talk about.
Yeah, Adam decided to ruin the show.
Shut up. Show up. Do what I want. So this dropped a couple of hours right before we got, actually this afternoon. I only saw it a couple hours ago, but it dropped this afternoon. We have talked many times about whether or not a show deserves to be brought back without its creator, even though the creator is still alive. And good or bad, mostly he, never she, because they're all dudes, let's be honest. They are great at what they did, despite being assholes and bad people. This came out, and I want your thoughts on this. So it's kind of official that over at Hulu, which means it's also Disney Plus, Buffy reboot, not reboot, but coming back. It's the actual thing. That means it's picking up revival. They usually use the right term here, revival.
Well,
Sarah's still coming back, and you notice who's directing the pilot.
It's certainly not
Chloe Zhao. You guys remember who Chloe Zhao is, right? She
I know the name.
The Eternals.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
She directed the Eternals. How do we feel about this, boys?
Awful.
I don't like it because you attach yourself to that, and you grew up at a certain time. While I was watching Buffy as I think of high school-ish time, or like when it came on syndication, and I could actually watch it regularly. And it's like I don't want to watch something new. It was something of it was an age of its time, you know, that type of thing. And no matter what happens, there's going to be CGI, there's going to be AI into it, de-aging, just the writing is not going to be the same.
No.
I'm just going to say no. Like, I would love to jump into it and be like, hey, let's give it a shot. But I've been burned too many times before and saying, nope, it would take a lot. Like, I compare it to Top Gun Maverick, and where it's just like, oh, okay, I see what's going on, what they're doing. It's going to be crap. I'm not going to see it. Normally go to see it every big movie that kind of comes out for different reasons. I'm like, nope, not going to go see Maverick because I don't want it to mess up my Top Gun experience. But then I heard word of mouth and went and checked it out, and it exceeded my expectations. But I think that's the exception, not the rule. These people are doing it for money or for agenda or whatever the case is. So hard pass.
All
Devil,
right, like,
you see Chloe Zhao, who wrote the Eternals. This is just all faith gone.
yeah, that definitely turns me off of watching it. Look, we've all touched ourselves to watched Buffy at some point. I thought it was I prefer Angel, the series, over Buffy, but I did like it. I know, but the problem is there's no way they're not going to try to DEI this up. There's no way they're not going to try to, and I guess since they're not using Buffy, because originally they've been
it's Sarah Michelle Gellar. She's coming back.
Yeah, they were pushing redoing Buffy and stuff years ago, and they were saying, "Oh, we're going to turn Buffy black," and even the feminists.
That was a reboot. This is a revival.
So I mean, I don't care if they do certain things, long as they don't touch those characters. But I don't know. I just think it's, even though everything's turning around, even though, like we said, I just don't think it's going to hit this. I think this is going to be a lot of DI. You're going to have her friends that are all non-binary, gay, transgender, all this stuff, which is, she had a gay friend in the first one.
I mean, Willow turned gay in a very strange way, but she turned gay. And,
I don't know.
Samuel, we've talked excessively on how you cannot replicate Joss Whedon.
Yeah. Well, number one, they're unless they get the same stable of writers, unless they get that Joss Whedon flair, that's not gonna fucking work. It just isn't. Because there was a, like, whatever else you want to say about the guy, there's a magic to the way he writes nonsensical dialogue that makes it work. Right? He did it through a number of series and a few movies, and it's really, really great. But it's kind of unique to him, right? And to the people he fostered in his writer's room for Buffy and Angel and Dollhouse, Firefly, etc. The problem here is that, number one, Sarah Michelle Gellar is pushing 50.
And she has had some odd plastic surgery. She doesn't quite look like herself anymore.
Right. So she's pushing 50. So unless she's coming back in more of a mentor role, because if you remember at the end of season 7, all of a sudden there's like hundreds of fucking these.
There's a Slayer army now in that universe. There's a Slayer army.
Yeah, and so she goes off. Yeah, she goes off to collect them and train them up and all that stuff. And then the other thing is are they going to acknowledge the interim stuff, because there are additional seasons in the comic books, and they are canon to the story. Right? They get ridiculous, but they are canon to the story. So, like, are they going to acknowledge that stuff? Are they going to talk about
Angel?
Because I think Drusilla actually dies in the comics, but she survived the series. Right?
No, you mean Drusilla? No, Drusilla died.
No, she doesn't.
She did?
No, she doesn't. She shows up again in Angel to torment him a little bit, but after the whole deal with Darla, she just runs off, and then she runs back to Sunnydale
during the Darla resurrection.
And then she leaves. She never died. She wasn't killed.
I forgot that. I can admit that. I forgot that.
Yeah. So I've recently rewatched both series, and the other thing is like, if we're being honest, dude, this show was written by a male feminist and was extremely progressive, especially for the time. Right? It's still good because it's still well written. but it's got all those same kind of hallmarks that I could see them taking that shit too far, but honestly, I don't think they really need to if they're just gonna keep it in canon, the way that it had been, kind of thing. They don't really have to do much to get it to conform to those ideals, because there's plenty of that shit in the original series. So I don't know. I think it's possible that they could do something great here. It has been done. BSG, Kung Fu: The Legend Continues. Every Star, like Star Trek Deep Space Nine, right? It can be done, right? I don't think that they will. I'm not as trepidatious as Chloe Zhao as you guys are, because I didn't watch any of her stuff before. I've never seen The Eternals, so
she's garbage. She's garbage.
Yeah,
she's terrible.
So,
she's not good at her job.
No, it's a product of its time. It's in my vault, and it can stay there. Even with like the invention, how prevalent cell phones are now. It changes everything. Technology changes everything. So
it's just gonna be lame when every time whoever the new Buffy character is runs up to a vampire and asks its pronouns.
Well, I mean, here's how I see this. I'm leaning towards Samuel. I think this is a disaster in the making. Because Buffy, let's be honest, in its niche section in nerddom, Buffy is beloved, as is Angel. And I'm with Devil. I like Angel more. I like Angel more. Than
sure,
Buffy.
Angel is the better show. It's more adult. Yeah. It's more maturely written. It's better written, because at that point they had started to kind of figure out where they wanted. That's about when Angel starts in, like, I think at the beginning of season 4 of Buffy, they had really started to pick up steam with the writing on Buffy as well. Like they'd figured out how they wanted.
Well, they're out of high school at that point,
right? And the first 3 seasons are they're pretty good, but they're still kind of on shaky ground with the writing, but they get better. They figure out what they want to do. They figure out these characters by that point. So Angel actually got a running start on that, and it only got better except for season 4.
Yeah, the whole well, we've talked with
recording season 4 is fucking
we've talked about that. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that made that bad here and there.
Yeah.
Shit with Chris Carpenter and Whedon, all that kind of stuff. But point is, I think this is not good. Because you're already telling me where you're going by hiring Chloe Zhao, who was at the helm of one of the earliest Marvel MCU disasters with Eternals. And you're going to now bring back Sarah Michelle Gellar to be Buffy. She's going to be back as Buffy, but listen, she could barely do the choreography.
I can't wait till she breaks a hip.
She could barely do the choreography. But look at my first point. She got it done back then. Well enough. She can't do it now. What story are we going to tell? And Samuel brings a good point. Are you going to bring in the comics, the season 8, the season 9, the season 10? Are you acknowledge the fact that at one point she and Angel had superpowers and were effing in the sky? Are you going to acknowledge that? I mean, all the weird shit that went on. And if they don't acknowledge it, do you risk alienating the fan base that has been rabidly following it for years and worships the comics next to the show? And then at the same time, I don't know how much the comics did it, you risk ruining Angel. I mean, there is a lot can go wrong with this. And as you guys are pointing out, the talent pool of writing is it's thin. It's non-existent even. Yesterday, Jed and I showed off who's writing Doctor Who in 2025. It's a bunch of degenerates and nobodies. Literal nobodies are writing what was once the prestige show of British science fiction entertainment. You're going to get the same dreck writers that you're over here. People who have no talent. And as we pointed out with Samuel just now, you cannot emulate. You cannot mimic Joss Whedon. It's been tried and it fails all the time. That's why people hate derogatorily say, oh, Whedon-esque dialogue, Whedon-esque this and that, because if you're not Joss Whedon, you can't do it. The man may be a male feminist. He may be a piece of shit, but he's a great writer and a really good director when he's into his shit, when he knows what he's doing. And he has good actors and actresses at his command. And I literally say his command because he was a freaking tyrant. This is going to fail. This is going to be rejected. Already, I've seen guys like Mahler react to this. Mahler, who is a massive hardcore Buffy fan.
Yeah.
You are already, you've got people who have a lot of sway in the nerddom going, I'm giving this a side already, don't want it. This is going to fail. I predict failure. Will I watch it? Maybe.
Well, if they get you to watch it, even hate watching, they succeed.
Well,
and then click and talk and link and,
it just depends if I'm going to review it. I mean, Drew mentioned when it was on syndication, because through syndication, I watched it in its original run, both Buffy and Angel. In syndication, I rewatched it at least 2 or 3 times all the way through. So I've seen Buffy a bunch of times, but I'm no expert on it. As Samuel just revealed, I forgot Drusilla survived. I completely forgot that. I've seen it many times, but I forgot. So while I am good with Buffy, I know the major storylines. I enjoyed it. I don't remember everything. I'm not hardcore. So we'll see when it comes around. If it gets, because it's in the works at Hulu. We know what that means.
Well,
Disney may pull the money at the last second and say, no, we're not going to do it.
Well, I wouldn't count too much on Sarah Michelle Gellar being in it, because I don't know if you guys remember a couple years ago, they essentially started back up CSI, and they advertised it with Grissom's going to be back, and all the people watched it because Grissom was, their most beloved character, and what ended up happening, he was there for 1 season. They essentially paid for him to come back for 1 season because they hoped that would draw everyone in and they would watch it, and so while they're saying Sarah Michelle Gellar's in it, she might just be there freaking for like 4 episodes and then they'll kill her off just so they can get people in.
Will return to star as Buffy. That doesn't say she's going to stay at home. And she recently
that could just be in the pilot too.
Yeah. And she was recently in this werewolf show that was recently on that got canceled. Listen, SMG, she ain't exactly a draw anymore. She's not a guaranteed people going to tune in. So
she wants to get a paycheck. They'll do it on the cheap. They'll promote her. Then they'll use AI and de-aging, and they'll bring in other people, ensemble cast, and they'll do whatever they can. They'll just mine it for parts and try to promote nostalgia and see what they can get away with for however long they can. Hopefully get some things trending and some people talking about it. And then the initial investors are going to make their money, and then they're going to peace out.
And if I had to put money on how this is going to go, I think Devil's right. I think what's going to happen is they're going to bring her in for the pilot, and she's going to pass the torch, right? Or they're going to bring her in a reduced capacity, like a sort of like a female Giles kind of role, where she's mentoring the youngers, that kind of thing. I mean, obviously, the Watchers Council has been completely destroyed at this point, but like you said, like a mentor role, right? So yeah, she should be in like a mentor role, but not in the forefront of the series. But they'll keep the name, and eventually, probably at the end of season 1, maybe season 2, right? They're going to kill her off for the shock value, because that's how writing works these days.
Yeah. And you're not wrong. She's probably doing it for a paycheck, because it's not like Freddie Prinze Jr. is bringing in any money.
He is in Star Wars.
He works at trucks. Right? He works at truck stop just like Dermy.
He's in the stall next to Dermy. Either way,
dude, I haven't looked at that guy the same since he said in Kunari, basically, I jerk off when I think about killing dragons. So
he is good in that game though. He does good work as Iron Bull. I was surprised when I found out he was Iron Bull. In the end, I think this is a disaster in the making. You cannot mimic Joss Whedon without Joss Whedon. Did anybody ask for this? Has anybody asked for this? Not to my knowledge, no.
Just random people, probably like, oh yeah, bring back Buffy, bring back Supernatural, bring back all these things.
Oh Christ, don't bring back Supernatural. I know, right? Not too long.
Yeah, I can't do that again.
They've killed everything. What else is there? They've killed the devil's gone. They've killed shit that could kill the devil.
Are supposed to be dead now.
Yeah.
I mean, but so
guys,
this is just. You guys are right. It's probably gonna have some DEI handoff. The new Slayer, the Prime Slayer. Because remember, Slayer Army. The Prime Slayer will probably be nice and diverse and gay. And
it's
maybe
the stands that are our age. It's people our age that are just say, just give it to me and I'll just shut up and give you my money type deal. And they don't care about quality. They don't care about what it was before. That's what it is. And it's just like so many things. They're just aiming for our generation because we had the money before. Yeah. And so right now we're the ones with money and the passions. And so some of the passions are misplaced with some people because they don't care about quality. They just want it, like you said, the clapping seals. And they're just making money out. Just like they did the like Suits went to Netflix and was the #1 like for a long time. And then they made a spinoff with
it's coming out.
Stephen Amell. LA Suits. And so now what? It's going to be like the CSI.
I don't know. They're bringing in Harvey's going to make an appearance at one point. Mike's going to make an appearance at one point. They're going to roll them all out. Yeah,
just like the Robert Downey Jr. as you know, it's bring him back, give him some Bitcoin or truckloads of money if that's even worth anything, or what their deal is.
This is not made. You're right, Drew. This is not made for the real fan. Not for the. This is made for the stan, who will just clap like a seal, take the dead fish in the face, and say, "Thank you, sir. May I have some more?" The real people who love this stuff, who enjoy it, who watch it probably on a annual basis, they get their DVDs, they put them in, and they watch a full watch through. Then they watch Angel, maybe probably side by side. They aren't asking for this. They don't want it.
I'm one of those guys. I don't want this. And look, man, I hope they don't make a shit product. I really do. I hope that it's decent. I hope they give it their all, and I hope they really try to make a good product. And if they do, great. But the fact is they are never going to catch that lightning in the bottle again. They're just not. There were some of the single best hours of fucking television ever made in this original series. The Body in season 5, right? One of the greatest fucking dramatic episodes of television ever made. Right. Heart-wrenching. They're never going to be able to capture that again.
Yeah, I mean, you're never going to even though the shock value, and there was a lot of shock value in the show. There was. I mean, the death of Tara, where they go off all the shit, and then the dude just walks in and is randomly firing off gunshots, and that's how she dies.
Yeah, that season took a fucking dark turn at that point.
And then it turned Willow into a killing machine, which was and then to have an outstanding ending like that, where Giles shows up at the last minute to try to fight Willow and try and talk her down. Everything that goes on with Dark Willow, that was incredible. And there was no way you knew that was going to happen. We knew Willow was a magic addict at that point, but you didn't know she was going to go full Sith, essentially.
Well, and that's the thing. There's so much subtext in that scene about love and about grief and about not dealing with it and letting it consume you that they don't say to your face up until the resolution, right? And they did it so brilliantly. They're just not I don't think they're capable of that kind of subtlety in the writing.
They're not.
Compare it to WandaVision. No, they're not. They weren't capable of doing it 5 years ago with WandaVision, with that kind of grief and emotion, what's going on, and even less writers are capable of doing it right now. So it's just not possible. It's just nostalgia bait, and they'll try and make it happen and bring in whatever they can. And everything's so saturated now that they can expand it to all these different things: online streaming, different streaming, license out to multiple streamings. And it won't work. It's just the bottom of the barrel. They're scrapping it for parts.
Do you think that they will do like they did in Who, where the next Buffy will be a transgender and will be more powerful than any other because it's a boy, girl, and
I mean
the non-binary and all this shit?
That would almost be worth watching, because in the rules established by the original series, that can't happen.
But she's a real girl, okay?
I don't think the ancient dark forces that possess these girls care.
I mean, the closest thing you have to a male Slayer was Connor. That was the closest thing you had.
Right, and
he wasn't really a Slayer just because he was born that way.
No, he was a mystical anomaly.
Yeah,
there were several of those throughout both series.
Yeah,
too.
but there can't be a male Slayer. Is the thing. There can't be. But that would if that was going to happen, I would then totally review this just to.
It wouldn't be a male.
I don't think that's going to happen. Just the way things are going, I think people are sick of it, If the election went the other way,
Yeah.
yes, maybe, probably. But now, the way it sounds, the middle management people or the creative people, they're like, nope, I'm not going to go along with this. I don't feel like I have to keep my job. So I think more people are going to be like, no, let's actually make something if I have to do this as my job. But it won't be lightning in a bottle.
All right, Devil, go, and then I want to make a final thought.
Me and Adam have been talking about this forever, that we think the tides are turning. It's going to take a couple years, but we do believe the tides are turning. I just think this is one of those ones that they would really love to have.
It's too easy. It's too tempting, this one. And especially, my final point on this, I said at the beginning of the discussion, saying now, it's at Hulu. What is Hulu? It's Disney.
Disney.
Hulu is Disney. It's Disney Plus. They are one entity now. Disney can't help themselves, man. They cannot.
Sure.
That's why they brought in Chloe Zhao. They can't help themselves. I think it's good. That's going to be a problem.
You've got a point there, but I think also, like, not every Hulu original that they've put out since the acquisition has been the worst thing ever. Like I'm referencing, for example, the Hellraiser reboot was actually pretty good, and they did in fact cast a transgender as one of the pivotal fucking characters, and he was great in that role. You know, like they're not. You know, it's possible that they especially given that this series, while it is a drama and while it is funny, it is also at its core a horror series, right? And Disney does kind of have a little issue with like attaching itself to like more mature themes that aren't trying to turn kids into, like, you know, the opposite sex. So we'll see.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see. I do not have faith, though.
Is there an estimate time when a release or starting production or?
Is the link to the deadline? I'd have to check the deadline article. I did not bring that up. I just found this right before we started. So, yeah, my guess, if
whoever said it, there's a chance it won't even happen because
it says in the works, which means nothing is set. It's going to be probably a year before we know anything real.
This might all fall through too and never happen.
Yeah. And frankly, I think that would be the best thing. Just no. Anyway, good luck. You're gonna need it. All right, I got one more good topic. This is the great one because it's tying a bunch of things together, and also will lead to an announcement I'm going to make at the end of the show. Some of you know it, some of you don't. We have now been witness in the past couple of weeks to what is essentially the end of BioWare. Okay, end of BioWare. Whether we liked it or not, it's done. EA last week, I covered it last week, multiple places on video and stream. They've gutted BioWare. We didn't really get a chance to talk about it here because it happened after the show. They gutted BioWare. They have fired everybody involved with Veilguard. Fired. They don't work at EA anymore. And we did talk about when good old Corinne Bush, the dude pretending to be a woman, a trainee, when his departure letter got leaked, saying, I'm going off to other things, and the memes were destroy one thing, go on to destroy something else. But here's the thing. Apparently Corinne Bush has landed someplace else. Thing is, where he has landed, it's already been destroyed. According to some leaks through Smash GT, Corinne Bush has landed at good old Wizards of the Coast.
Oh, that's no surprise. That's not going to change anything over there. Wizards of the Coast has been fucked for 30 years.
Yeah.
So this is one cancer merging with a deadlier, nasty cancer that has already destroyed an entire tabletop industry. So according to a leaker to Smash JT, they have found a source within Wizards of the Coast, Bush's name listed on the company's internal team's organization chart, confirming the hire before any public announcement was made. Source reportedly expressed great frustration over the hiring. So failing, I guess, laterally is a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Failing laterally because this is you're not listen, Wizards has destroyed their entire company. Name me something that's really making them fame and fortune right now. Because people hate D&D now. They hate it. They despise
Baldur's
it.
Gate 3 is about the only successful thing they put out in ages.
Go ahead, though.
They hate new D&D. They just don't
you know
play
what I
past
mean.
a certain point. Yeah.
Yeah, people are going back to old modules and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They're not going to the new stuff, but they have Bush game director Skeleton Key. So that means this woman that looked like she's gonna be put in I'm sorry. Slap me. She just reminded me of that. I did that for like a day when that came across our purview. She I just want to do it now. When he is being hired to run a game, to hire something to run a game, are they blind? This dude just destroyed an entire studio. Has cost, as Dre put it very cleanly, hundreds of millions of dollars, possibly $1 billion, due to the longevity, the gestation, the limbo with which Veilguard, once Dreadwolf, was in production. You're going to hire this person to make games
and all future revenue off other games because they killed the franchise.
Yeah, killed the franchise. I mean, now, as Samuel put it, well put it. Listen, D&D IPs, Forgotten Realms, Dragonlance, all of them, they're all dead. Magic. Remember a couple years ago when they tried to make the Lord of the Rings Magic card set?
Oh, yeah.
That flopped.
Yeah. So, yeah, and that's essentially what it comes back to, because you got to keep in mind, like, WotC started out just making trading card games, and their flagship game, the game that got them noticed, was Magic the Gathering, right? But it was only a couple of years after they started putting that shit out that they started getting hate from, like, I know there's people out there saying that the Satanic Panic didn't happen in the 90s. Yes, it did, and this was part of it. They were getting canceled. They had parents groups coming after them to remove certain imagery from certain cards. Like, for instance, on Holy Strength, used to have a burning pentacle in the back of it. Now you have to go pretty far back to find one of those. When they started caving to the mob, it doesn't matter which mob, when they started caving to the mob, they were done, right? And this just escalated until, like, back in the late aughts, when they canceled Therese Nielsen, who was an artist who had been with them for almost 2 decades, one of their best artists, right? Happened to like a couple of things on some social media post or whatever that wasn't like kosher or whatever. And they not only fired her, but they fucking burned her online, right? And it despite the fact that she was on a personal account that didn't reflect on the company whatsoever. And then, when they race swapped Aragorn, when they decided that orcs are black coded, which, by the way, the most recent editions of D&D, right, that they're coming out with now, they are removing orcs from the.
Oh, you mean this right here?
Compendium.
You mean that right there? They're no longer evil.
Right. These
motherfuckers
have been weak-kneed posers since the beginning. They just it didn't cotton on right away, like the rest of the world didn't cotton on right away. But yeah, and these are the guys who bought TSR, which is what all the D&D properties are under, and they've been systematically chipping away at the foundation of these fantasy worlds ever since. Like, none of this is a surprise. Corinne Bush isn't going to fucking accelerate that.
No, they're not. She's not. She fits right in. And let's look at Skeleton Key real quick. Let me just get it and bring it over here. Hang on a second. Let me bring it down, bring it over. So Skeleton Key, what does Skeleton Key do? And we'll come back to the orc thing. That's where I was going to go at the end of this. Come on. God damn it. Why didn't it copy? I'm a pro YouTuber, man. I'm the best of the business. What I do. Skeleton Key. Let's look at Skeleton Key's homepage real quick. All right. Let's see what they're all about, because that is the video game production company. Oh, stop doing that. Freaking. I hate everything right now. There we go. There's the right one. I'm awesome, aren't I? Anyway, Skeleton Key. The production video game production wing of Wizards of the Coast. Based in Austin, Texas. Oh, that screams exactly what they are. Skeleton Key is a game development studio of passionate creators inspired by great game stories and toys. That passion for play is what motivates us, our desire to create amazing interactive experiences. You say that. Vision and mission. Keys are the symbol of opening and closing. Skeleton key is a symbol of unlocking infinite possibilities we can explore. We venture into the unknown and invite others to join us. Our mission is to create immersive gameplay, unique stories, and thought-provoking moments of suspense and horror that guide players to have fun while facing risks. And there's nothing wrong with that. That sounds okay. Let's get into their keys to their creative culture, though. Transparency, being open and honest with each other, the community, our games, and the way we work. Respect, being respectful in the way we communicate, interact with peers and teammates, and the way we represent our studio and each other. Empathy, leading with empathy is how we unlock and build a culture of safety and well-being, allowing a space for being human. Fun. So we make games for a living. Our passion for the craft is what inspires us to make blah, blah, blah.
If fun isn't your top priority at a game company, then you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. This is not a company that's going to make things that real gamers, real fans of Dungeons and Dragons want to do. They don't. I mean, now this is new. They don't have anything here. This is what they got. They just started this up apparently, and you're bringing in Corinne Bush, a dude who murdered, and we all agree, Dragon Age was not a massive franchise. It's a niche franchise. It was never Assassin's Creed the way that's going to suffer in another month. But it had a passionate fan base, and you excluded them for a bunch of weirdos who wanted a gay dating simulator. And you're bringing in the person that was the creator of that gay dating simulator, who injected his ideology and agenda into every aspect of the game and literally pissed on and shat on almost 2 decades worth of lore just to get their point across, just to say, like me, because I cut my penis off. All right? Just to do that.
Clip that.
Well, listen, they already have a clip. They already have a clip of me saying that, okay? Kratos plays it all the time. It actually is pretty funny. And then, as Samuel pointed out, this is their culture. There's no evil anymore in Dungeons and Dragons. Orcs are okay. They're not evil. It's just a way of life. Look how happy this orc family is. They're all running around. They're one with nature. Isn't that great?
Well,
No.
Akuma in chat, Akuma 13 brings up a point. What's pictured here? Those aren't orcs. Those are half orcs.
Yeah.
Right. Orcs are hulking beasts with massive tusks, and that's the other thing that's been driving me nuts about this stuff. Ever since they started saying that they're black coded and they're treated like American blacks or whatever, which is stupid, by the way. But ever since they said that, I've always wondered what these guys would think if they went back and looked at some of R.A. Salvatore's Drizzt novels, because it's about a black-skinned elf who mows through these fuckers by the thousands.
Later on, I never got. I stopped reading before Drizzt went on his orc slaying campaign.
The book, The 1,000 Orcs, is about 1,000 orcs that Drizzt murders. Is that black on black fantasy violence?
Listen, I was a Drizzt fanboy back in my gaming days. My character based on he was the guy. He was who I went to. I convinced my DM to let me go and learn dual wielding from him. That's how
he's a good character. But
yeah,
when they start doing this shit and they're just like, oh, they're you can play as them now and they're not monsters. They're not in the monster manual anymore. I mean, like, there's going to come a point where you're not going to have any monsters. You're just going to have a bunch of weird looking fuckers sitting around in a circle talking about their feelings.
Yeah, but this is exactly where Corinne Bush belongs, in a destroyed franchise, because there's nothing to destroy. It's done. D&D is nothing. No one cares about it. As Devil pointed out, people who enjoy playing tabletop, they're going back to older modules. I mean, Weasel, right. If Weasel's still in the chat right now, he probably is watching. Weasel plays older stuff. He adapts some of the new stuff, but he goes back. I know Legatus is a massive proponent of second edition. AD&D second edition. People who really want to play this stuff, they'll go back to the old stuff because it's all out there. It exists. You can't delete it. But modern day Wizards of the Coast, modern day D&D, rejected because of this. Rejected because of people like Corinne Bush, who only want to inject their agenda into it. But there's nothing to inject in here. I honestly didn't think this cow was going to get another job, but he obviously landed in the perfect place for him. And I can't wait to see what game Skeleton Key's going to put out, because damn well Corinne Bush will bring in whatever versions of Sweet Baby Ink are out there that he wants to work with. Damn well.
I mean, if you guys want like a more like a better example of why this is shit you shouldn't support, right? Take Games Workshop, for example. Like, there is an ongoing Twitter war between what's referred to as Chudhammer and Wokehammer about like what is and isn't okay and all that stuff. And Games Workshop has kind of been leaning towards the Wokehammer side for the last couple of years. It looks like that might be changing soon. Who knows? But that's like the big online debate about like, when a company starts leaning more into identity politics than into producing a good game, right? That's what people think of these days, because that's what the conversation is. What I'm telling you right now about Games Workshop, fucking amateur hour compared to WotC.
Mm-hmm. Wizards of the Coast wrote the book on woking up a beloved, decades-long money-making franchise. I mean, you go back. Listen, people want to talk about how Games Workshop stuff is plastic crack. Do you have any idea the amount of money I spent on boxes and manuals on Forgotten Realms and Dragonlance back in the day? And I never even used half of them. Mm-hmm. I just bought them. I for the maps, for the lore in the books, to read about it. I just bought it, thinking I'd use it, and I never actually used them. I mean, on corporate stuff, but I had a mountain. I had Myth Draenor, I had Waterdeep, I had Under Mountain 1 and 2. I had all the dragons. I had all that shit.
Honestly, better getting a pre-5th edition rule book, right? 3rd for preference or earlier, and using that to run GURPS campaigns, right? Off-brand campaigns.
Yeah. I mean, people make home brews. I've been making, every time I go back, I do home brew. I was doing D20 home brew before Wizards of the Coast decided to make the D&D D20 system. I was doing it before that because it's easier than using a bunch of different die all the time. Yes, you still use certain die for certain things, but it simplifies it, makes it easy, makes the game go quicker. And get rid of it. And Elgatus, I love it. F Thaco. You could take Thaco and throw it off the cliff. F Thaco. Freaking hate it. You know what it's like to be a kid playing it, trying to understand, reading the book over and over again, try to understand what Thaco is when you're like 13 and your brain barely works. Do you understand that? It's not fun. You feel like an idiot. You read it over and over again, trying to get how it goddamn works, and it's just roll.
I don't know. I think you probably would have got it if you had to drink out of a hose once in a while.
Yeah.
I was wondering when we were going to get the goddamn. There it was. I was wondering when the hose was going to come back. I know, as I kept thinking, you might get through the whole episode. They might not bring up the hose.
We always bring up hose.
Yeah, you. Anyway, this is not surprising. This is going to be a disaster. I can't wait for it. This is something to be easily followed. I will definitely keep track of Corinne Bush and his failures and making Wizards of the Coast and everything you do even worse. Don't buy this shit. Don't support it. Mock it though. Thank you. Thank you for proving that horrible people will congregate with other horrible people. Wizards of the Coast and Corinne Bush.
Yeah.
Yeah. None of this is shocking.
Yeah, no. They have a success with Baldur's Gate. How do you follow that up? Build your own studio and fuck it up right off the bat.
Yeah, and it's not like there wasn't plenty of this kind of shit in Baldur's Gate 3. We heard to no end about all of that stuff. It's just that the game itself was good enough that a lot of people chose to ignore that and play it anyway.
Yeah. We've said that before, though. We've said that if you have, am I frozen?
No, I hear you.
Okay, I was all, yeah. That's what I was all like. Adam's not moving. Am I the one who's frozen? No, yeah,
hey, it's not me.
Yeah, he has a shitter. Ah, there you go.
It's our show now.
We have conquered.
Take over.
The host people win. No, yeah, like we've seen this happen so many times where they'll have one success, and a game that has really good writing or really good story can overcome some of these pitfalls that we have talked about. We've said it the same thing with shows. There's shows that are really, really good, and you can sit there and see every little DEI crap through them. Like, I really like The Rookie, but if you watch The Rookie, there is so much crap in there. All the girls are so good, and the guys are all dunces that fuck up all the time, including the main character. Yeah, welcome back to your show. So you can have that in games where it's same thing. And yeah, like you said, Baldur's Gate was a great enough game that you could overlook any of those little problems that it had that people were like, you can have sex with a bear. Yeah.
Bro, I said people did. I didn't say I did.
No, I'm saying, yeah, I don't even think you played it, did you? Anyway.
No, I didn't.
I chose not to.
I could see people overlooking that.
So.
But yeah, you get it. They do this every single time where they'll get that little success, and instead of saying, okay, we'll learn from this. We saw what was successful about it. We saw what was great about it, and we're going to continue that. Instead, they go, but what we're going to do is we're going to take all this shit that people didn't like and make that the forefront. That's going to be pushed, even though that's the stuff no one really wanted in it. So yeah, like I said, their first game is going to probably, be something that is so outrageously shitty that no one plays it.
No.
And they'll just keep going from there because they don't learn lessons.
I agree with you. Especially if Corinne Bush is the game director.
Yeah.
Because what has he done except destroy a great franchise?
Yeah.
And then kill a company.
The opening.
Kill a company.
The opening for the preview will be in a world where there is no gender.
All right. All right. That's all my topics. You guys got anything you want to throw out there?
I think Jed needs to be forced to watch Conan the Barbarian with his eyes taped open for a couple of weeks straight with no sleep and no food.
Yeah, the laminations of their Jeds.
Did you
we'll give him one of those. I did. I copy and pasted.
Okay, he's like, he says to me, Samuel sent me an essay in a post, and I said, he sent me the same one, and it wasn't so bad. I was okay with it. I agreed with most of it.
Yeah.
Listen, at this point, the hate that Jed gets for his scoring and take sometimes it's part of the show. It's part of the DNA of the show at this point.
Right.
We wouldn't have it any
Jed.
other way.
I just think he's got shit taste sometimes.
But yeah, for anybody who wants to say, Jed and I, we did Conan Barbarian on Drive-In last weekend. It was a highly critical review, but I do love the movie. I'm just highly critical of it, as Samuel pointed out in his comment that
I read Howard too, so I'm with you on that.
Yeah, it's not the best adaptation of Conan. It's fun. That's why I like Destroyer more. Destroyer is a little more towards what I like in terms of that.
Right.
Yeah. I got nothing else. So you guys got anything else you want to jump into? Otherwise, we will.
No, that's it. I just wanted to take a jab at Jed.
We'll wrap it up. I got nothing else. So there you go. I do want to make the announcement, though, in relation to what we just talked about. So Jed, of all people, talked me into this on a Saturday night during another discussion about stuff. Possibly as early as May, I will be hosting and streaming, for lack of a better term, because it isn't, and I'll explain that in a second. I will be hosting a D&D tabletop stream where I will DM it. We've already got some people signing up, but it's not going to be D&D. What it will be is it will be based in the world of my first book series. And you guys who join and play and watch, we will get to experience essentially part of the history of leading up to the events that start in my book. So I'll be running a tabletop game. I'm going to be run through the software. Jed's going to walk through the software so I understand it. And then we got to find a time. That's part of the reason it's not going to immediately. Got to find a day to do this. It'll be, I can say now, it'll be bi-weekly, every 2 weeks. We'll do a session, have some fun. And I've already hammered out the story after a couple days. Boom. I got it. it's gonna be a good one. I really like what we're gonna do with it, and hopefully it will tie into getting to a point where we're leading up to the crowdfund for the book, because that's the whole thing. Once I get around 5,000 subs, and I can guarantee, maybe 1,000 of you might want to buy the book. We can get some interest across all the network and the channels. I will crowdfund the first book. We can get it done, and I can put a physical book. Drew, you'd be happy. I'm gonna put a physical copy in your hands. You could read it, touch it, put it on your shelf. And there'll be audio books and digital books later. But, we start with a physical copy. And then that gets everything going, because that's the purpose of this channel. For those who might be new here, it's not just to do what I do. While I enjoy my culture war stuff, the pop culture war fight, shitting on all that is bad, I want to do more. I want to write books. I want to give you books. This whole thing is to get to a point where I open my own small publishing company, so I can then try and save legacy publishing from itself, and give young new authors who aren't going to bend the knee to the crap a chance. So we got it, but we got to get it going. I got to get to 5,000 subs. That's the threshold. And then hopefully that allows me to then be making enough money so that I can move, because I really don't want to do it here where I live now. It'd be much better if I did it in Florida, where I'd have a lot more resources at hand to not only help me get the book done, but also help me, I'll say it, fulfillment. Fulfillment is where you lose a lot of money, and I will be fulfilling it myself, and it's very hard to do it by yourself. So it'd be nice if I could get a place where I could call on a few hands here and there, and also help promotion, this and that, make an event of it, make fun of it, make it fun. So join me in May when we do a gaming session. I've already got, essentially, I think it'll be a 6-person party. We've got essentially 4 signups right now that I'm pretty sure of. Some of you are in the audience right now, and we're going to have a good time, good old-fashioned D&D type campaign. It'll be a little bit on the rails because I'm placing you in the history of my own world, but there'll be a little bit of freedom. There'll be a lot of chat interaction. It'll be live. It won't be recorded. It'll be for your entertainment. They're there to help make fun of it. So we're going to have a good time. I am looking forward to it now. And you can thank Jed for it. Jed is the one that talked me into this. I wasn't going to do this. I've been putting it off for months. Devil, you were bugging me to do it since last summer. And I said, we'll try in October. There's that. Well, Jed did some really convincing talk to tie it to my book, and I have a really good story to run for it now. So we're going to do it. Should be a good time. And if it works the first time, we'll do the second time. I'll put it in a different world, because listen, it's not just one world when I'm running. I've got a universe. There are many places I can drop you guys into for games to interact in the worlds I'm going to give to you for this very large universe of stories I'm going to tell you. So look forward to that. It should be a good time as early as May, because once I learn the software, then I got to hammer out how it works in terms of basically, once I learn the software, I just have power scaling. How difficult do I make it levels wise? I got to work out. Then I got to make up rules, because like we pointed before, I'm not going to be using D&D, but I'll base a homebrew that I've used in the past on that type of stuff. So we'll work it out. We'll get it there. And then it's about a day. Because let's be honest, as Devil knows, as Samuel knows, as Drew knows, it's hard to find a window where other shit is not going on. Not only other people's shit, but your own shit. I stream literally 4 or 5 days a week right now. I mean, I only basically Tuesdays and Wednesdays are the only days I'm not officially streaming, unless Devil taps me for get ranked on a Tuesday. I usually take those days off. Thursday, twice a month, I got dedicated streams. Maybe I'll do an autopsy. Then we've got Ball Busters, and then it's drive-in and this and roundtable, all kinds of gaming streams, all the time. So it's finding the time. And unfortunately, I'm going to probably have to step on somebody else's toes. Hell, you know what? We'll step on Dermy's toes. Do it on a Saturday. Chatterday. We'll do it then. It's okay. Dermy,
we'll do it live.
Do it live.
We'll do it live.
So that's my announcement. I officially announce it now, so you guys can look forward to it. You guys can get ready for it. Should be a lot of fun. I'm actually pretty excited about this, because I've thought about the exact story I'm going to tell, and it's pretty cool. It's only mentioned in the books. It's not actually seen. So I'm going to take a party of our friends, our local friends who we hang out with. I'm going to put them in there. They're going to help shape that little bit of history. That's kind of the fun thing. You guys get to shape it. Kind of cool. Anyway, so there it goes. There's that announcement. Other than that, let's go around the table, see what everybody else got going on for the week, and then we'll go our separate ways, and I'm going to play more Stellaris. So, Drew, what's your week look like?
Yeah, I'm taking off. I got some business to do in Florida, some speaking engagements, and then I'm going to pair that with some MegCon events.
Nice.
And yeah, with some cool people. It's my second anniversary, or my second year. So anniversary of meeting a lot of cool people at this event and having a good time. So looking forward to that.
All right. Yeah, the MegaCon meetup. Have everybody's going. Have a good time. Have a good time. I hope to join in the future those kind of festivities. Devil, you got to get ranked tomorrow night.
Yep, I gotta get ranked tomorrow night. Both Adam and Samuel are gonna be on it. We are doing Keanu Reeves movies.
Oh no,
the list. Yeah,
good one. I won't be around, but hope you have fun.
Yeah. So yeah, I've got everything ready. I just need to put it all up. But yep, check us out tomorrow on that, and then of course check out every Friday going into Saturday the pub. Which Anna should be there this week. Her first episode as a full member of the regulars, and yeah. So
well, I vote for Point Break right now as a GOAT or the highest
Yes.
ranking you have. Point Break.
I hope so too.
It is the
what
first
happens?
Fast and Furious. Like you think Fast and Furious, Point Break is basically Fast and Furious in the water.
Yep.
And better.
I'm good for about, as I said, when Devil chose the list, I'm good for about 85% of the movies on the list. I'm good for about 85%. So I like Keanu. I just like Keanu.
He was real excited about the lake house and a walk in the clouds.
I've seen them both.
He was all like, "They're so
Listen,
beautiful."
there was a
Sweet
period of
November
time.
makes him cry.
No, listen, there was a period of time where if it was on TV, I just watched it. If I had nothing else to do, it was on, so I left it on and I watched it. And that's how I watched both the movies. Only seen them once each. It's not like I go back and watch The Lake House over and over again. Come on.
You certainly
Anyway.
wouldn't tell us if you did.
Yeah,
Every
I would.
No-
Am I gonna
Every
run away from
November
that?
when the weather gets cold, I snuggle up and watch the lake house.
You snuggle up with Dom and you watch it. Yeah. Okay. Samuel, you're back on regular schedule this week.
Yeah, I should be back on the regular schedule this week. I'll be back on Abyssal Musings on Friday. I will be back on the pub shortly after that. Also Friday night, Saturday morning. We didn't really skip Screaming to the Void last week, so nothing's changed there. I'll be doing that again. And then I think Amira didn't stream this weekend, so she'll probably definitely be streaming, this upcoming weekend. So I'll definitely be there as well. And I'm back here from El Mondays. But before we go, I do have to point something out that just occurred to me. Right,
Yeah.
looking at the two panelists up on the top, right? The Outstanding Vet TOV for short. We should change the 26-hour man to Mazel. Mazel and Tov.
Mazel and Tov.
Adam doesn't look amused.
No, I don't. I expect this shit from Dermy. I don't expect this from you.
That wasn't even a bad Jew joke.
I
It was
know.
just wordplay.
It's a dad joke. Anyway, all right. So as for me, let's see. Rest of the week, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man drops 3 episodes on Wednesday, so you'll get me read that. I think I've angered some stands. They're trying to ratio me on the second episode review with Black Carla Connors and her hand that is bigger than her chest at one point in the animation. It's god awful. Anyway, so we got that the rest of the week. There'll be some gaming towards the end of the week with the whole probably Dark Tide. I don't know. We haven't checked on Starship Troopers in a while, so it's probably going to be Dark Tide. Let's see. No Saturday Night Driving this week, as I mentioned beginning of the show, because Jed will be at MegaCon. I will probably just be on Saturday much earlier than normal. Sunday Roundtable. We'll see what happens the rest of the week. And then we'll be right back here next Monday for Mellow Mondays, where hopefully we will continue to have a good time. So thank you, everybody. And I see that right there. Offered to Kurt Russell's agent. Damn, that would be cool for Island in the Stars.
Yes, it would. Yes,
Kurt
it
would be he'd be down for that shit. He just loves making good movies. He'd be down for it. That'd be awesome. We will keep tabs on it. Thank you, Jay Fraser, for always keeping us up to date on that. And thank you again, everybody, for being here tonight. We thank you. We appreciate you. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, remember to hit that like button, leave comments, share the stream, grow the channel. We have a good time. Be great. And we'll see you guys next week. So until then, take it easy. Have a good night or day wherever you may be.
Bye.
We are on a major delay here, probably because my internet went crap on me for a minute there.
How many subs are you at now?
Right now, I've been stagnant for weeks. Right now, I'm currently at. Let me check right now because it's actually got subs today. Amazing! Wow, how far behind are we?
I think we're
unless
still
that's
live
me.
on YouTube.
We're still.
We're still live.
Yeah, I mean,
Let's do it live.
is it? I think my studio's fucked up. Are we still
Yep,
live?
we got us just said still live.
Still live. Okay.
I'm seeing it on my phone. Yeah,
Okay.
we're still live.
Yeah, ending it now.